a lot of flesh eaters are actually closer to being vegan than a lot of vegetarians. In that, well, I mean, I'm a living example of this. I was never vegetarian, but the moment I watched Gary Yurofski's speech, crop
Mm.
farming, while it can be a violent practice, it's not as clear that it's a right violation to use violent methods to protect foods, especially if it turns out that there's no additional harm actually being caused and those animals were just going to die horrific deaths in the wild anyway, and there's no
Mm.
actual um yeah, but I'm not saying it's good. Obviously, if George could wave a magic wand right now and we had a vegan world, there would be vertical farming, Gary Yurofsky's vertical farming.
So the reason that I'm reacting to Gary Yurofski's speech is because Gary Yurofsky is a major influence in my animal rights activism and amazing major influence in the animal rights movement across the world and in the mainstream vegan movement. Gary broke into the mainstream quite heavily, and he is, in my opinion, and in objective reality, one of the most amazing animal rights advocates who has ever existed.
I'm a misanthrope, not a racist. I hate all human beings. All humans are a psychotic scourge to this planet. Whites, blacks, men, women, heterosexuals, homosexuals, Republicans, Democrats. Shit, I even hate vegans. But I remain a vegan activist because vegans cause the least amount of harm to the animals and the entire planet. Fuck human rights.
The first thing a misanthropic vegan will do when faced with the very real torture, death, and destruction caused by mainstream crop-based agriculture is maliciously blame it on the animals. When that lie inevitably falls on its face, the vegan will invoke the idea that they plan to replace destructive mainstream crop-based agriculture with a mythological farming method they call vertical farming. So today we're going to expose how absolutely absurd the idea of vertical farming really is. Here on planet Earth, we have 2.3 billion acres of harvested acreage that would have to be replaced with so-called vertical farming. So let's do the math on this, since the infantilized vegans refuse to. Let's make the vegans' vertical building a 100 meter by 100 meter structure. Then let's make each vertical structure 100 stories high. So, using those dimensions, to replace 2.3 billion acres of destructive crop-based agriculture, the vegans will require 931,174,089 floors. Divide that by 100 floors, and the vegans' mythological vertical farming will require the construction of 9,311,741 100 meter by 100 meter skyscrapers. To put this into perspective, Hong Kong, the global skyscraper world record holder, has only 517 skyscrapers, but their average height is only about 40 floors. So in order to shift to vertical farming, we would need an ocean of skyscrapers, consisting of skyscrapers over twice as tall as the average of those of Hong Kong, and extending out to cover more than 18,000 times more area than does the entire footprint of those skyscrapers in Hong Kong. So first, these 9 million plus skyscrapers need to be built. Then they will require plumbing and energy-hungry water pumps to deliver the required water against gravity up all those floors of all those millions of skyscrapers. Then, of course, all 9,311,741 of these skyscrapers will have to be heavily wired for electricity, since natural sunlight will have to be replaced with grow lights on all 931,174,089 floors. And because artificial light produces so much heat, these 9,311,741 skyscrapers will have to be equipped with energy-hungry air conditioning systems in order to prevent the plants growing within from being baked to death. Obviously, if the vegans ever did the maths, they would realize that vertical farming is potentially the most stupid idea ever. Of course, if vegans were serious about reducing the torture, death, and destruction caused by the industrial crop-based agriculture that brings the vegan menu to the market, they would have already done this math and figured out that vertical farming is dead on arrival. But vegans don't really care about animals. They simply have a weird obsession with controlling and even harming other people. Veganism is death on a plate, and there's no amount of childish vegan mental gymnastics that will ever change that.
And that's not even
yeah.
taking into account better farming practices. Vertical farming, for example, uses basically no pesticides. Well, besides the actual building of the building, it could kill next to no insects.